Introducing The Binge, the only podcast network that will never leave you waiting for new episodes. On The Binge, you get the whole story, all episodes, all at once. Find your next podcast obsession with an ever-growing collection of thrilling true crime stories and fascinating docuseries. Plus, every month you'll get a binge drop of a brand new story that's all episodes, all at once. Ready to unlock your listening? Visit the Binge channel page on Apple Podcasts or getthebinge.com and start binging today.
Coming up.
The dictionary definition of a love triangle gone wrong is these three people. It's Mo and it's Colin and it's Caitlin.
For Vault Studios, I'm Will Johnson. You're listening to The Daily Crime. U.S. Marshals are still searching for Caitlin Armstrong. She's the yoga instructor facing a murder charge in connection with the death of 25-year-old Moriah Wilson, a rising professional cyclist who was found shot to death last month in Austin, Texas.
Investigators say Caitlin Marie Armstrong shot and killed professional cyclist Anna Moriah, or Mo Wilson. The motive? An apparent love triangle.
There's now a $5,000 reward for a fugitive suspected of killing a professional cyclist in Austin last month. Caitlin Marie Armstrong is wanted on a first-degree murder charge. Police believe she was jealous that her boyfriend was spending time with his ex and shot her.
She was an awesome woman in sports, and we don't have that often, so she's going to be missed.
I adopted a rescue dog recently. She's the absolute best. I can't imagine my life without her, and it was incredibly important for me to research the shelter that I was getting her from. And they were great. They have the animal's best interests in mind, and they're working hard to find homes for actual rescue dogs. I really wish I didn't have to specify actual rescue dogs. But here's the thing, if you're not careful, you can be tricked when buying a dog. On the upcoming season of Smokescreen Puppy Kingpin, host Alex Schumann investigates the story of a secretive businesswoman accused of laundering puppies. Consumers thought they were getting rescue dogs, but without knowing it, they were actually supporting animal cruelty. The woman at the center of this has made millions, supplying puppies to people across America, sometimes even selling them without disclosing that they're sick. But now she's facing multiple lawsuits. Puppy Kingpin brings to light a side of our pet industry not enough of us are talking about, while unveiling some shady truths about a con artist taking advantage of it. You can subscribe to Smokescreen Puppy Kingpin on Apple Podcasts to binge all the episodes, or listen weekly wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm joined by reporter Natalie Haddad at KVUE in Austin, Texas. Natalie, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Let's begin by going back to May, when Moriah, or Mo Wilson, as a lot of people knew her as, was found with multiple gunshot wounds. This is just such a terrible story. And then now we have this just unbelievable search for a woman who's been charged with her murder, and U.S. Marshals are on the hunt. But so far we haven't heard a whole lot. So let's go back to May 11th when Mo Wilson was found.
Yes. So Austin police get a call around on Wednesday, May 11th, pretty late in the evening, 10, 11 o'clock. And it's a call from Wilson's roommate. So roommate, I use that word loosely because Mo was actually in town for a race that she was going to be competing in. She's not originally from Texas, but she's in Austin for a race that she's going to compete in. And she arrives to her friend's house, who she's staying with, pretty late. And she spends the day going out to eat and swimming with a friend. The roommate, eventually comes home after she arrives and finds her bleeding and unconscious, or nearly unconscious. EMS medics arrive. They're trying to save Mo, but she's pronounced dead later that night. And according to the affidavit, Wilson was, before, going back to the friend's house for the night, she was with a friend. His name is Colin Strickland. Colin Strickland is, yes, a friend, and she had no romantic relationship with Strickland at the time of her death, but they were at one point romantically involved. He is who Mo spent the day with. They went swimming at a popular swimming hole called Deep Eddy's Pool here in Austin, and then they went to eat, and then Mo came home. And the family of Mo, swears up and down there was no romantic relationship. It was strictly platonic. Colin told law enforcement officials the exact same thing. So pretty innocent and platonic, just days spent together. Also, according to the affidavit, Colin Strickland, his tie to Caitlin Armstrong, she is the accused killer at this point, Mo's killer. The affidavit stated that Colin had lied to Caitlin that day about his whereabouts. So it immediately comes to mind that this is a love triangle gone completely wrong. Dictionary definition of a love triangle gone wrong is these three people. It's Mo, and it's Colin, and it's Caitlin. And when a friend of Caitlin's is interviewed, and she later tells law enforcement officials that the day that Caitlin found out that Colin had lied about his whereabouts and was with Mo that day and not doing what he told Caitlin he was going to be doing, she became physically upset, was shaking. Fast forward to the evening when the roommate finds Mo. She's bleeding. She's pronounced dead later that night. There's surveillance video of Caitlin's car pulling up to the house that Mo is staying in. Not a whole lot of detail surrounding how Caitlin knew where to find Mo. If she just had always known that maybe she was coming into town because Colin mentioned it. We don't know. We don't know if the friend that Mo was staying with was a mutual friend to Caitlin and Mo. There's really not a whole lot of detail surrounding that, but we do see surveillance footage of Caitlin's car pulling up to where Mo is staying and then driving away. Now, Caitlin is questioned the night that Mo is found and later dies. Caitlin would not confirm nor deny that she saw Mo the evening of her death. What makes law enforcement immediately suspicious is 2 days later, on May 13th, Caitlin is later seen on surveillance video on that date essentially fleeing. She is seen going from the Austin airport to LaGuardia Airport in New York City. But that's it. There's no record of her leaving. It's possible she may have used a fake name, but she's at that airport. She arrives there, and suddenly she's somewhere in New York. She doesn't. It was just a flight from Austin to New York City, LaGuardia.
But Natalie, before we get into where we are with the search, I want to go back to when Caitlin was brought in. There's this detail of she was brought in on another warrant, and there was an issue with the warrant, right? And that's why they cut her loose that day, more or less, right?
They did. So that's thanks for bringing that up, because that's a whole different breakaway subject in and of itself. So when they question Caitlin the evening of Mo's death, they bring her in on a misdemeanor warrant of sorts. And the reason she is released from custody is because her birthday on the warrant is incorrect. I asked the U.S. Marshals Office and reached out to Austin Police Department about this. How does this happen? The U.S. Marshals Office could not speak on this because it would be an Austin PD issue, and Austin PD never returned my calls or emails. So the birthday was typed incorrectly on the warrant, and because that causes legal discrepancy, she's set free. And then that was May 11th. On May 13th, she's gone.
And presumably has left town back in May, and we have some evidence that she was at LaGuardia, but then facing a murder charge, and then U.S. Marshals, clearly have put out the word that they're looking for her, and there's a reward too, right?
Yes. So she arrives in LaGuardia Airport in New York City between May 13th and May 18th. We don't know where she is. May 18th, though, is kind of where it's a plot twist, because she is seen on surveillance camera arriving to New Jersey's Newark Airport. However, there's no record of her flying out of that airport either. It's U.S. Marshals Office say it's possible she left with a fake ID under a fictitious name, or maybe she was trying to be deceptive and she arrived at Newark Airport from one mode of transportation and then left from it with a different mode of transportation. Now, the U.S. Marshals Office did tell me that they do know how she arrived, whether that was an Uber, a Lyft, a taxi, whatever, a friend, whatever. They know how she got there. They could not share that information with me. But the mystery is, where is she now? Because she didn't fly out of Newark under Caitlin Armstrong, and she isn't seen elsewhere on surveillance footage leaving the airport. She's likely not camping out at the airport. She would have been found by now, I would assume. But that's the mystery now. And now there is a $5,000 reward for any information leading to her arrest.
That's the sound of a crack in the ceiling found at a home inspection. But with a realtor by your side, a newfound leak might only cause minor worries. With their expertise, a realtor can suggest a credit at closing and even connect you to a contractor to help you shore up that leak and alleviate your worries. When it comes to cracks in your plans, the expertise of a realtor can make all the difference. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
The Boy Scouts knew they had a problem.
Parents gave the Boy Scouts the most valuable thing they had, their children. And they told parents, you can trust us.
They are unbelievably heartbreaking stories.
This is about how to move from victim to survivor.
When the detective says he confessed to abusing you, I no longer had to prove to people that I was abused. I was free.
The powerful new investigative documentary, Leave No Trace, A Hidden History of the Boy Scouts, streaming now on Hulu.
You know, we cover various stories about suspects who are on the run and being sought after. And some people, you know, you get the feeling that, well, maybe, or the sense that they've got the ability to do something like that. You know, you never really know. But for her to be able to do this is astounding.
It is, because I think, you know, stereotyping here, you think yoga teacher, and I think the first word that comes to mind is zen and centered and calm. But Caitlin Armstrong was clearly not calm. So a little bit of a backstory between this love triangle here. And one that's definitely worth mentioning, some notes here, is that Caitlin Armstrong and Colin Strickland have this on-again, off-again romantic relationship. And then when she finds out that Mo is in the picture, even for a brief amount of time while Colin and Caitlin are not together, Caitlin is a different person described by her friend to law enforcement. She's angry at the thought of Mo, gets, her body starts to shake with anger at the thought of Mo and Colin. And Colin lied to Caitlin that day on May 13th about his whereabouts. Details are fuzzy on what he told her what he was actually doing. But we do know that he told her that his phone was dead and he would, be with her later. But his phone was likely just turned off while he was with Mo. And so when she found out that they were actually together that day and he had lied about his whereabouts, she got very angry. And so, kind of circles back to what you were saying, that it may have been it came upon her suddenly. The friend describes Caitlin as being angry at the thought of Mo and Colin in the past. And then she finds out that they were together and it's just a messy love triangle. And, now she's on the run and Mo is dead.
And we should mention Moriah Wilson, for anyone who's heard about this case, was, she's commonly described as a rising professional cyclist, but she had a lot going on for her at a young age.
Correct. And her family described her as such, as a rising star in the cycling world. It's believed that that's what connected Colin and Mo in the first place. Colin cycles. We have photos of Caitlin also in cycling gear, but we know her predominantly as a yoga teacher. So there was definitely that sport in common between Mo and Colin, maybe not so much between Colin and Caitlin.
Natalie Haddad will wait for word from U.S. Marshals on this case, and hopefully they will catch up with their suspect, Caitlin Armstrong.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks for talking to us once again, Natalie Haddad at KVUE in Austin, Texas.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Daily Crime. We're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And be sure to check out our weekly show, True Crime Chronicles, available every Monday, wherever you listen to podcasts. For Vault Studios, I'm Will Johnson.